faith, family, and everything else that matters to you from a godly point of view. Welcome to the Clearbranch Methodist Podcast.
Hey, welcome in. It is the Clearbranch Methodist Podcast. My name is Mark Harvard. I am the pastor of communications and online campus here at Clearbranch Methodist Church in Trussville, Alabama. And as we get closer to Christmas, a lot of parents are fighting the same battle that I'm fighting. And that is, how do you keep your kid focused on Christ during this time when they're just overly beaten up with commercialism? And they're, I don't know about you, but my kid every night comes back, gets out of bed, takes his tablet, brings it into our living room and says, "Mommy, Daddy, I want this." So as we get, how do you fight that? Well, we have help this week. Our Clearbranch Minister of Children and Families, Melanie Schuler is here, and she is going to tell us, Mel, how do we fight this battle with commercialism at Christmas?
You can't. Just give in. I'm really just kidding. There are,
great podcast. Thanks.
And
See
we're
you next
done.
week.
Look, I get it. I've had little kids too. Of course, my kids may be older now. I have a senior in high school and a freshman in college, but it has not been that long since I fought that same battle myself. And because I do work with kids, I think about it a lot. And of course, you and I talk about things a lot because I get to spend time with your lovely child quite a bit. And I do have some thoughts, some things that I think that you can do. Some of these are going to come a little more naturally to you than others, but that's okay. You kind of have to find what works well for you and your family, I think. But I actually have typed notes for today. So I want you guys to know how prepared I am for this conversation. I won't read them out loud to you, though, I promise.
She actually means it this time.
I do. I mean it. I'm serious. So the first thing that I think that you need to think about is what are your family traditions? So everybody has different things that they may say, and you may decide that you don't really have good family traditions as your new family. If you're a younger family, your traditions that you think of may be what you did with your parents when you were growing up. Mm-hmm. And as a very firm member of Gen X, what we did as families when Mark and I, because we are the same age, no matter how much he lies to you and tells you
so much older than I am.
I'm older. We did. It's very different now than it was then.
Oh yeah.
And so you may have to be intentional and decide, okay, all of these things that I'm thinking about were things that we did when I was a child. They don't necessarily translate to how your family is made up or works now. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But look at the things that you do and try to lean into or start new family traditions that don't have anything to do with gift giving. While I get it, and it's very helpful to have your child make a Christmas list of some things that they want, because if your family was like mine, you've got a couple of different grandmothers and aunts and cousins and people who are asking, what can we get your kids for Christmas? And so it's very helpful for them to make a list. So do that and then put it aside and then put your focus on things that you're doing together. So that can be all different things. Maybe it's time that you spend together as a family playing games. Yeah. Maybe it's time that you spend together baking. Those of you who know me well know that I spent 20 years working in retail management. And if you know anything about retail, it's that Christmas is the busiest time of the year. We're working 6-day weeks for, the month leading up to Christmas. But my kids loved to cook. And I kind of found this out accidentally. I'm not a natural cook. That's not something that's easy for me or comes naturally to me. For one thing, it's very messy. And that's just a lot to have to clean up. You add kids into the mix, that can add a whole other layer of stuff to do. But if your child is interested in that sort of thing, what a great way to spend an evening. Like, be intentional, pick a night, order pizza, or have, like, our big thing was, I usually didn't order a pizza because there wasn't a good place close to us, but we would do pizza rolls for dinner that night.
Yeah.
Pizza rolls and carrot sticks.
Something no fuss, no trouble. Yeah.
Easy on paper plates, and have your dinner and clean it up, and then decide the things that you're going to cook. And so you've got a younger kid, you can start as simple as just buying prepackaged Christmas cookies, the little, pre-sliced vanilla ones that have like the picture of Buddy the Elf or a snowman or something on them.
Yeah.
My son loves those cookies. Those are his favorite ones of all the things that you can do. You can start with those and then just have icing and sprinkles and things. Or if they really want to get into it, find a great cookie recipe. I grew up making Spritz Christmas cookies, the kind that you make with a cookie press. And, we'll have to talk about this later. Mark's given me a very interesting look. It's
That's
a really,
thing?
yes, it is a thing. And it's very cool. And again, you'd be hard pressed to find one like I used when I was growing up. There's different kinds now, but so you make this cookie dough and you load it in the little thing, and you have shapes that go in the bottom, and you squeeze them out. And so they're all exactly the same.
It's like a star or a bell or something.
So there's a Christmas tree. That's the one we do the most. There's also one that looks kind of like a star or a snowflake. There's like 10 or 12 different shapes, and you can pick and choose. But the main thing is letting them do that with you. And if they want to make something like that that's more complicated, just let them help you decorate it. Now, I will say, again, if you know me at all, I'm a little on the compulsive side. I like things to be and look a certain way. This was not easy for me to let go and let my children decorate cookies when they were 5 and 6 years old, and there was icing all over the table and all over the floor, and every single one of them was different, and we had pink sprinkles and purple sprinkles and things that didn't.
Oh, that sounds horrible. I'm the same way, though.
But when you walk into a family gathering and your 6-year-old has a container of cookies and they hand to whoever is hosting and say, I helped make these.
Oh.
And how proud they are that they were able to contribute to the family gathering. Just try to keep the end result in mind is what I'm telling you.
Is this how your daughter started getting into baking? Because she's a really good
She's a
baker.
way better baker than I am. I used to could do things like, I guess I still could now. I don't have the patience for it, but
is this where that took root?
I guess she started some with me, but she would also bake with my mom.
Okay.
Sometimes when she would go to her house or to the lake, and Isaac did some too. So he would also bake with them when he was younger. And so I'm not going to take all the credit for it. I'm sure that, that my mother had at least as much as I did to do with it, if not more. My point is, these types of things are what kids are going to remember. And they may not remember what they got for Christmas that year. And I'm not going to say that this is going to completely negate the constant thinking of the things that you want for Christmas, but this is a good way to start.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be the first thing that I would do, is try to find things that you can do together as a family. I personally think that the cooking together thing is great, simply because, too, now that I've worked with other people's kids, I don't know if you guys know this, but we cook almost every Wednesday night in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And these kids get so excited about it. They have so much fun, and they're so proud. They want to get like the one that they put together themselves. That's the one that they want, and they want to be able to show it to their parent when they come back in. So that just helps take some of that focus off just the presents piece.
Because we're focusing on experiential stuff. And
then too, this is a great time if you're in there baking together. Granted, you're giving them instructions and things, but there's time where you're just stirring, or you're just cutting out cookies, or you're just icing. That's a great time to be intentional about talking to your kids about what Christmas is truly about. So that may not feel completely natural to you at first. Maybe you didn't grow up in the church, and now you're a member of a church, and you're great. You're happy to be a part of a church family, and you thoroughly believe all these things, but it may not feel natural or comfortable to you at first to talk to your kids about the spiritual meaning of Christmas, about where it came from. But you're never going to get comfortable with it if you don't start.
Yeah.
So in these times, when you've got them, they're a captive audience, what a great time to say, so what have you been learning about the Christmas story? What do you know about how this all started, about Jesus' birth and about the things that happened afterwards? What do you know about it? And if they're, they may look at you and be like,
don't know.
And you're thinking, why do I send them to church with Miss Melanie if they are going to come? All kids act like this. Mine did it too.
Yeah.
I probably did it as well. But that's a good way to at least get them to start talking to you about it, see what they know, what they understand, and then you can help them fill in the blanks. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to hear these stories a million times before they know them all. That's okay. That's how you start.
Because surprise, surprise, kids aren't the best listeners.
Isn't that shocking? I'm hoping that none of you are shocked by that like we are. Because
think about how many times you had to tell your kid to pick up their socks this morning. And that was just one thing. That wasn't even a whole story.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So that's something that I think I probably talked about that a little too long. But
No, because I think it's important that parents remember, because you're right, it is so easy to default back to everything coming down to the prizes and to the presents. And, if you want to get a lot of presents, you better be good and that sort of stuff. It's real easy to default to that. I know a lot of parents, that's discipline for December. Yes. It's handled by that one aspect of it. But when you start putting way more importance on seeing family and enjoying that time together and finding ways to organically work in that Bible story, the story of the greatest gift we've been given as Christians. I think that's the big win there, is just figuring out how to make those scales tip in that direction. And it's hard because society, not friendly to that.
Yeah, it's really not. Something else that seems like a small thing, I do love books. We talked about a very specific book the last time I was on the podcast. And I have a specific book for you today. Unfortunately, I can't give you a link to it on Amazon, which is my favorite way to shop these days, because it's not in print any longer. However, I was able to find it on eBay. So I'm going to tell you the name of this book and the author.
Okay.
And the last time, but if you're going to buy this book, parents, listen to me, buy it today or tomorrow or sometime in this next coming week. Last year at Christmas time, like the week before Christmas, I was looking for this book to buy for someone that's a part of Clearly Kids, and it was like $50 on eBay.
Oh my goodness!
Because it's right at Christmas time, the demand goes up. So right now they're like $5 and $6. Go order it now from eBay. This book is called The True Night Before Christmas, and the author is Timothy Penland. It's written like in a poetry phrasing, kind of like The Night Before Christmas, which we've all heard, about Santa. And if any of your kids have been here at an event in the past couple of years and they've gotten to see Santa, our Clearbranch Santa here, he has read them. He and Mrs. Santa have read them this book. It's a book that I found just by chance several years ago when my kids were still in like elementary, maybe upper elementary. And I may love it more than they do. I don't know. I feel like they love it as well. But it's written in that style, but it tells the story of the birth of Jesus Christ and talks about the gift that God sent us in Jesus. Now, the other neat thing about this book is that the guy who wrote it for his first grandchild when she was born. And then years later, he'd had so many requests to read it at different things that he decided to publish it in a little book. And the granddaughter that he wrote the poem originally for did all the illustrations for the book.
Oh, wow.
So that's a very cool thing for a kid to be, holding this book that was all the pictures that are in there are drawn by like a 12-year-old. I think she was somewhere between 10 and 12 when she actually drew the pictures.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. I think you would all enjoy that one as well. And
what was the name of that one again?
It's called The True Night Before Christmas by Timothy Penland. So it's Penland. And again, I think you should be able to find that on eBay.
Excellent.
So that's a great one to work into your, if you're reading books at least a couple of nights a week with your kids before bed, that's a great one to work in, or even just to read together like the week before Christmas when you've got some downtime and you're at home.
Fantastic. Mel, when we get back, I want to talk about a few things that we've got going on between now and Christmas here at Clearbranch. It's a very busy time of year for you.
Just a little bit.
You got a few things going on. When we get back, we're going to talk about that. It's Melanie Schuler. She's our Minister of Children and Families here at Clearbranch Methodist. I'm Mark Harvard, and stick around. We'll be back.
Want to catch up on a sermon you might have missed? Need to see what God has said about an issue in your life? Looking for some on-the-go Bible lessons for your kids? Find it all on our Clearbranch Methodist YouTube channel. Go get it now at youtube.com/ClearbranchMethodist.
Welcome back to the Clearbranch Methodist Podcast.
It's the Clearbranch Methodist Podcast. My name is Mark Harvard. I'm the pastor of communications and online campus here at Clearbranch Methodist in Trussville, Alabama. Our guest today on the podcast, Melanie Schuler. She's the Minister of Children and Families here at Clearbranch. And we've been talking about how to get your kids to focus more on Christ in this overly commercialized time of year. And Mel, you've been telling us about a book and about some different ways to kind of redirect and find ways to inject the birth of Christ into our Christmas goings on. And you had a couple of other tips with us, right?
Yes, and I'll be quick on these two. So one thing that stood out as I was thinking about it today is that when I was a kid, my grandmother, we would always decorate her house. We would help her put up her Christmas decorations. But she had a probably 1950s era plastic of some sort nativity scene. Mm-hmm. Now, I bring this up because when we set that up, she always would tell us, now remember, it's not Christmas yet. So everybody's not gathered around the nativity scene yet. She would have us set it up with the wise men and the shepherds kind of spread out through the house on a path moving towards the nativity scene.
Now, so you had a representation of the approach.
We did. And she, I don't know how she stood it because she was very high strung, but she let us put those, as long as it kind of made sense. Mm-hmm. And we were at my grandparents' house constantly. And so every time we were there between when we decorated for Christmas and Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, we would move those items a little bit closer. Mm-hmm. And we would, just talk about, where these people were and where they were going. Now, of course, we know now that timing is still not exactly right.
Oh, yeah.
But the point is, I'm 47. I still remember doing that now and how it made me think about that first, the first Christmas. So if you can get your hands on a plastic nativity scene or a toy one, or let the kids make one.
Yeah, Fisher Price makes a little toy one with like the Weeble people for it.
Yeah, anything that encourages them to set it up and tell you about it and move the people around is great. So I think that's another great thing you can do. And then the last tip that I had for you is to try to get them to focus on giving more than receiving. So again, they're all making Christmas lists for their grandparents and for Santa and everybody else. But if you have the opportunity to do like an angel tree where you can pick gifts, do that, but try to avoid going to the store and taking care of that on your own. One thing that I found was great that I would just do with my kids is when they were about the age is we would pick a child that was like their age. So a boy that was 10 and a girl that was 9. And we try to find one practical item for that child and one fun item for that child. And so my daughter, who was 9, would be then picking something out. She knows what 9-year-old girls like. So she's helping pick out that item.
Yeah.
My son, who was 10, would be helping pick out those kind of things. And it
teaches them generosity, teaches them,
and getting excited over doing something for somebody else. So that's another thing that I think that you might, again, you got to be intentional. I know everybody's busy, but it's worth the time that you spend doing it, I promise.
Absolutely. And as we've talked about already earlier in the podcast, those things that you do with them, they remember as adults. And you never know it's going to be a passed down thing.
Yeah, you just don't. I mean, even if there were times when I think I had to give my little list to my mom and she might have the kids for the weekend as I was working and she would help them shop for that. But the point is they were involved in it and helping give to someone else versus thinking about a gift being given to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent lessons. Mel, what do we have here at Clearbranch between now and Christmas?
Oh, gosh. Really not much of anything. I mean, we're just going to be chilling. We may read some books, eat some popcorn. But no, actually, we're going to kick off the Christmas season, if you will, in the backyard on Wednesday the 26th. So it's the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. Actually, that's the 29th. I
There
try
you
to
go.
make that be the wrong date all the time. On the 29th, we're going to kick off Christmas with our backyard Christmas kickoff. So we will be, we'll have the kids, we're going to have like pizza and chips for them. So like a light dinner. We're going to have some fun party food. We're going to do some Christmas crafts together. And then we'll have a special visit with a very special Mr. Man from the North Pole and his wife.
Some visitors from up north?
Some visitors from up north.
What?
So
How
it's
do we
pretty
manage
special.
to get that?
I tried. It's just good to be a VIP. Let me just say.
So we've got that. We've got the Very Merry Movie Night coming up for
do.
families.
So that's the following Wednesday night. And please don't think that that's just something for little kids. This is an event that's fun for the whole family. So we're going to start that evening with dinner together in the cafe. Then again, our special guests from the North Pole, I believe, are going to be available if anyone wants to say hi or have their picture made with them. You're never too old to have your picture made with Santa. I'm just saying.
You do it every year.
I do it every year. Every year.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a Christmas movie together. Throughout the movie, we'll have time for you to go ahead and make a basket of popcorn and some hot chocolate to take in with you for the movie. We'll also have cupcakes, and it's always one of the most fun events. So I encourage you to go ahead and register for that just so we can make sure we've got enough food. But it's free. You don't need to worry about that. And we'd love to have everyone in our Clearbranch family and from around the surrounding community be a part of that. We can seat 1,500.
Yeah, bring a friend.
So
or
come
7.
on. Yeah, and be a part of that. It's going to be a great night.
And then we've got Christmas Eve.
Yes. So on Christmas Eve, we have something new. Because Christmas Eve is on a Sunday, this year we're going to have a family service that morning. Parents, don't flip out. It's going to be okay. I promise you. So we'll have childcare for our babies through 4K kids, and then our 5K through 5th grade kids will be with their families. Feel free to let your kids come in their PJs if they want to. We will have a special breakfast in the cafe for everyone who's here for the service that morning before we start. And I will also have some little busy boards, some Christmassy activities available for the kids when they get there. So if they need something to help keep their hands busy during the service, I've got you. And I've always got extra crayons. And if you need something to bribe a kid with, I usually have an extra stash of some of that type of item as well. So
There you go.
But there will be more information about where to find those things coming soon. But that's our Christmas morning, and then of course Christmas Eve evening. Christmas evening.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock is
I try to
the
make that
service.
be a different time every year.
Well, our evening stuff is usually at a different time,
Yeah.
except for,
Throws
Christmas
me off.
Eve is the big one. We try to have it at a time when everybody can get there, but at the same time, we need to allow families to go home and get ready for bed and all that stuff. So, it's 5 o'clock that
5 o'clock,
evening.
yes. And again, that's a family service. Same thing. We'll have childcare up through 4K. Older kids will be with their families. I'll have Christmas Eve morning busy bags and Christmas Eve evening busy bags. So we're going to keep everybody's hands busy. But again, guys, remember, it's church. We're there for a reason, and it's not for kids to be perfect.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Come be a part of our church family.
Yeah.
If they make a noise, if they snore, if
We have-
they're dancing in the aisles, I promise you, it's fine.
We
In
have
fact,
adults that do that too.
We do.
So, yeah,
we
that's
have
fine.
adults that snore and dance in the aisles. So I mean, they're in good company. It's going to be fine. But it's my favorite service of the entire year.
So much happening here at Clearbranch with kids going into Christmas. Mel, thank you so much for being here this week.
I'm so glad I could do it. Thank you.
Melanie Schuler, our Minister of Children and Families. If you want more information on all of the children's stuff we've got going on here at Clearbranch, go check her out online at clearbranch.org. You can also check it out on our Children's Ministry Facebook page. Extremely active. All the latest information. There are times when I actually go find out things myself there. So go check that out. Like it, share it with friends. Do all the appropriate interaction that needs to be done on that social media platform. This has been a good week. Stick around. Next week, we've got Micah Shelton, our Director of Worship Ministries. He'll be in next week to talk with us about Christmas music. What makes a Christmas song, and what should we be getting out of Christmas music? He'll be in to talk about that. I'm super excited about that. Thanks for joining us here this week on the Clearbranch Methodist Podcast. Have a great week.